growing our next generation of engineers and entrepreneurs.
Also this week, we take you inside the Unicorn, Kansas City's home for cutting-edge theater.
Plus, we plug into Kansas City's plans for its electric vehicle future.
And it's been free for decades, why it's now going to cost you to enter the Overland Park Arboretum.
Principal funding for the local show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Johnson County Community College, John and Effie Spees Memorial Trust, Bank of America trustee, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Commerce Bank trustee, and KCPT members. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Nick Haynes, and we're delighted to have you with us again on The Local Show. You know, our local theatres each tend to have their specialties: comedies, classics, family fare, or in the case of Kansas City's Unicorn Theatre, cutting-edge new plays that are in many cases Pulitzer Prize winners or world premieres.
This season, the Unicorn has already staged a punk rock musical about Andrew Jackson, a televangelist's last broadcast, and a dark comedy about addiction with a name we can't say on TV.
Well, we go behind the scenes now at the Unicorn in this latest installment of our Perform Arts series in conjunction with KC Studio Magazine.
I think you all know the Unicorn Theater, or why else would you be here? The Unicorn does what nobody else does, right?
1, 2, 3, 4! Populism, yeah, yeah! Populism, yeah, yeah!
We do them first. We do the ones you never heard of. The best ones out there being written right now. People ask me, well, what are you going to do next year? And I have to say, I don't know. It hasn't been written yet.
I'm sorry you lost control of that little conniption over nothing, and maybe I overreacted because you questioned my integrity.
Questioned your integrity?
I promise you that every single play that we do is handpicked because I love it, because I believe in it, and because I think you will also love it.
If this unicornucopia is starting to sound more like an old-fashioned revival, well, it is a topic about which Cynthia Levin is passionate. Certainly no one has more first-hand knowledge about it. For 33 of the Unicorn's nearly 40 years, she's been right in the middle of it all.
33 years. Isn't that crazy? I don't know many of my colleagues that stay at one theater for 33 years, and I have to tell you, over the years, there have been moments that I've tried to escape.
Strum.
I'm not even from Kansas City, I'm, from the East Coast, and it's like, oh, should I go back? Oh, should I, try something? And it's like, every time I take one step away, I realize what we've got here.
In fact, we have a rule, that we tell the actors.
What they have here now is literally a complex. When the Unicorn moved into the old Bellman Garage on Main Street in 1986, they started with just one small stage in the back. Now they have two stages, a front entrance and a maze of usable space that just about any out-of-the-mainstream theater anywhere would envy.
You can come through this building sometimes, and there's 3 shows being worked on. There's a show being performed on the main stage, there's a show in rehearsal in the Jerome, and there's a show 3 months down the line that's being worked on in the conference rooms. And that's exciting.
Multiple stages are hardly a luxury for theaters these days, making it possible for a box office favorite like the holiday comedy Inspecting Carol, co-produced with the Kansas City Actors Theater, to have its run extended. Or for the world premiere of Ron Simonian's Soul Collector to join the schedule late in the game.
Homosexuality is a satanic possession.
Oh my goodness, 25, 30 years ago, it was always, oh, let's drop the new plays. And nobody's ever heard of them, nobody comes to them, it's hard to get an audience. And it was like, no, the whole purpose was to grow an audience. And I have watched this happen. I have watched people come to plays that they've never heard of. They walk in the door and they go, what is is it we're seeing tonight? That's the greatest compliment I can get. It's like, oh my God, you trust me.
It is from this day forward that I stand. It is from this day forward. It is from this day forward.
You can tell every play at the Unicorn has a lot of thought put into it, not just in the production, but a thought into how it fits into the whole season.
Okay then, I'll leave you to all of this.
Yeah, you got everything.
Yeah, I do.
You better never tell him.
Call me when you're sober.
Call me when you're dead.
Cynthia has done an outstanding job of ensuring that we're presenting both female playwrights and new playwrights and giving them a stage.
In fact, as a charter member of the National New Play Network, the Unicorn has been at the forefront of helping bring original scripts into public view. Christina Anderson, a KCK native with a master's from Yale, has had several of her plays performed around the country, but never had one professionally produced here until now.
What are you doing here, Wayne? You're supposed to be at work.
I called her and I said, Christina, I want to do a play of yours. What would you like to do and see on the stage? And she said, Blacktop Sky. I said, Blacktop Sky it is.
Sharing stories about the disenfranchised through casts that are often diverse has been part of the Unicorn's mission all along. But the process of fine-tuning them has changed somewhat, with more and more emphasis on workshops and staged readings to get audience feedback before fully producing them.
What if I told you that who you vote for won't matter?
I tell you, a show that had a big impact on me in terms of, okay, this is why I go to the Unicorn, is Hungry. Where would I have seen that anywhere else in Kansas City?
The Unicorn has always been one step ahead in terms of the issues that they put on the stage. We did a show called Ruined about the mutilation of women in Africa, a very topical issue and one that presented it in a really powerful way.
Unicorn launched a lot of people into their careers, you know, and so for me it's the main theater from which a lot of other theaters sprung, and a lot of directors and actors got their start there.
I just keep doing it, you know. I don't even sometimes think about it. I just keep doing it, and I think, you know, it's like every time that opening night comes and you do that one play, it's like, okay, now the next one. You know, and I've moved on to the next one. If my style has shifted, it would be that I tend to maybe trust more people now. That I used to when we were starting out and sort of creating the look and the feel that I wanted this theater to have. And now there's quite a few people that also have that feel and that desire, and they know what we want to accomplish and the kind of theater that we want to be a success at. That's the ultimate collaboration. That's where it becomes great.
Visitors heading out to the Overland Park Arboretum are now greeted by a big surprise, a ticket charge. After more than 2 decades as a free attraction, the 300-acre outdoor venue just off of 179th Street and 69 Highway is now charging $3 to enter, $1 for kids.
Thanks in part to the controversy over a bronze statue of a topless woman. Last year was the best ever for the Arboretum, which is trying to get visitors to think of them as more than just a park. Joining us now on The Local Show is the chair of the Friends of the Arboretum, Dennis Patton.
A lot of people will have these New Year's resolutions, and one of them might be they want to be more communing with the outdoors, perhaps getting a little healthier, and perhaps hiking trails, wandering around the Overland Park Arboretum, and they're going to be very shocked because in January, as we say, you're going to be going there, and you're going to now be paying an admission fee, something they've never paid before. Why?
Many people don't realize, but the Arboretum was conceived back in the early 90s, and it was always destined to be a botanical garden and an arboretum. A lot of people just over the years assumed it was another community park, and a lot of people didn't come along with the vision that it was destined to be so much more. And it got to a point where we feel that it was important now to start that transition from park to cultural destination, and also that there are a lot of amenities there that do cost more money to upkeep, and the city alone cannot support what we really want the Arboretum to become in the future.
But it is a sort of psychological hurdle still for many people when you've been doing something for so many years. when it is completely free?
I must admit, it's not going to be an easy transition. We've gotten a lot of opposition. We've also got a lot of people in support. So you got to look at it both ways. There's those that, of course, are going to be opposed to paying anything at any time. But if you also think about those that really enjoy the cultural part, the destination of it, you cannot go to another parallel event attraction like, Powell Gardens, Missouri Botanical Gardens, Chicago Botanical Gardens, and any other place and not pay a fee to get in. This is a very nominal fee, and all the money will go back, especially the Friends money, will go directly back into supporting the continued growth and development.
Because there is confusion about where the money will go, because people see it as a City of Overland Park attraction. Is it going to be funding to help offset the costs of the City of Overland Park? And we also got an email from a gentleman who asked, is this going to help pay for the new metal art out there?
Well, okay, good question. Boy, these are very good questions. Currently, the funds that you're going to be paying are going into the Overland Park, are going into the Overland Park General Fund. But also keep in mind that the city's currently funding almost, I believe it's around $800,000 to support the Arboretum. So that's just offsetting fees. As I said, the membership fees are going directly to the Friends groups, and the Friends group only exists to promote and enhance the Arboretum, so all those monies are going back. And now we're in the process of developing what they're calling an International Sculpture Garden, which are referring to the 2 years of donations from the Chinese sculptors. And that's actually going to be part on the Arboretum and part on what's called the Kemper Farm, which was land donated to the City of Overland Park. It's a very complex organization for something with a pretty simple goal and mission. But yeah, it will help support and build the art. This is part of building our cultural future.
157,000 people came there up until the end of November of last year. Your best year ever. That exceeds the number of people who went to the World War I Museum here in Kansas City. There's a lot of people coming out here. Was that partly due to the controversy over that bronze
sculpture?
Bare-breasted sculpture that you had there? Yeah.
Well, if you ask our volunteer greeters, they will tell you the #1 question this year is, where's the sculpture? So yes, it did help. You know, what's the old saying? No press or all press is good press. There's no such thing as bad press. And maybe in this case, having a little controversy around those sculptures did help increase the awareness and the number of people. And I think once you get out there, you'll see how much that piece of property has to offer, whether, like I said, you're just a casual walker or more invested in nature.
You know, one of the things about that whole, we talked about it a lot on Kansas City Week in Review. We talked a lot about the controversy of their art, and we saw that a lot in the media. But I always thought also, wow, and I go out there quite a lot. Most people have no clue. They don't go out to 179th and 69 Highway. They don't go that far. They've never actually set foot in this place. Tell us, what is there to see if you've never set foot in that Arboretum before, Dennis?
I think there's several reasons to go out there. One is about 5 miles of walking trails. Most of these are going through the woods of Wolf Creek. So in the spring, you're seeing the spring wildflowers, all the birds, the wildlife. There's also about 100+ acres of restored prairie or being restored prairie. So for those that don't really know what a tall grass prairie looks like in Kansas, even though we're home in the Flint Hills, this is the closest you're going to see a large acreage of prairie, and also the wildlife that goes with that. Of course, as a horticulturist, someone who loves gardening, there's a few gardens out there. The Monet Garden is very special to me because our Extension Master Gardeners maintain that, but that's an acre plus of highly maintained flower gardens.
If it's all about nature, why do you have to have art there at all? Because that's been one of the big parts of the controversy, is you have this International Sculpture Garden. There may be up to 100 as part of the vision, 100 pieces of outdoor art there. Does that have to be there at all?
Well, I think there's a couple ways to answer that. I think, first of all, gardening is an art. It's a different art form than, say, sculpture. And if you go to any Arboretum Botanical Gardens, art sculpture is part of those gardens that really make them a complete or whole. And I think the other thing is the way the cities and the Friends group are envisioning this is you'll have really kind of two unique cultural attractions there. You'll have the Arboretum Botanical Garden part, and you'll have the Sculpture Garden Park, which would be maybe separated a little bit. Right now, those sculptures are all in temporary homes. If your viewers have ever heard the term Mammoth Sculpture Park, that's kind of what they're trying to develop. And there's a few of these dotted around the country. So these would be on walking trails, more in settings that would be more appropriate for the art than maybe where they're just on now. There's currently this quarter-mile walking trail.
How is the Arboretum in Overland Park different than Powell Gardens?
I think those two are going to complement each other very nicely as they develop. PAL, of course, is privately owned and operated. Here again, you've got this kind of city-private relationship going on here with the Arboretum being owned by the City of Overland Park. But then you have the Friends of the Arboretum, the Overland Park Arts and Recreation Foundation, as the private body out there raising funds, support to really help grow it. Because we know in this day and age, government tax dollars are not going to build the dream and the vision, so it's going to take that private support, and that's where our friends groups are coming in to make sure we can tap into those private streams of money to help really reach our vision.
Now, what happens then, Dennis, as the month progresses and into the spring, and people see that fee and decide not to come to the Arboretum?
Well, you know, I think we're mature enough, wise enough to understand that it is going to be a barrier to some, and it will not surprise me if all of our attendance drops off this year as people adjust to that. People are going to have to decide whether or not paying that fee every time they go out or buying a membership fee is really in their best interest in growing that facility and making it more.
Dennis Patton, we very much appreciate you being with us on The Local Show.
Thank you so much. It's been fun being here.
Where will the next Garmins and Cerners of the world come from?
Growing Entrepreneurs starts young. In the Blue Valley School District, it's starting in an innovative $12.5 million building where the next generation of entrepreneurs, engineers, and life science researchers are getting a head start while still in high school.
It's called the Center for Advanced Professional Studies, or CAPS. While many high school biology students are learning about DNA from textbooks, there are teens here actually extracting it from the saliva glands of fruit fly larvae.
More than 500 Blue Valley juniors and seniors are getting this opportunity in a program that's fast getting national attention. Producer Rich Miller takes us inside.
CAPS is just a really good way for kids who, go to the Blue Valley School District or who live in the boundaries, I guess, to get a, real-world experience for what it's like to work in their field of study.
Essentially, it's a program that immerses students in a real-world work experience, but it's not just a simulation like what some programs I've been in at school do. It's, we're working on actual projects with actual clients and actual people who need us to do this work for them, but we're learning and we're getting our high school credit at the same time.
Instead of just a learning and listening to lectures environment, you're actually doing projects to enhance your ability to actually work with actual businesses and understand how the actual world works.
I decided to become a mentor with CAPS because I looked at what I had available to me when I was in high school, and I knew that I wanted to get involved in really interesting engineering projects, but there just wasn't any coursework available. When I saw what they were trying to make available to students, I said, I have to be a part of this because it's something I wish I could have done.
This is all designed off of economic development. So we're designing programs that match where the market is going. The high demand, high skilled jobs is what this is designed after. When the market shifts and a career is big, then that's where we're headed. If a career opportunity is not, we drop it.
We created a program that we didn't want to be elitist. We didn't want just the kids that were had grade point averages above 4.0 here. We wanted kids that had an interest and a motivation that they could couple with their academic acumen to be a part of this. And so we don't have any kind of a screening process when it comes to grades or whatever. There is an application process. If kids are interested and they can convince us that they're serious about this, then we want to give them the opportunity.
There's a huge difference between CAPS and regular school. I mean, the first thing you notice just by walking in, we have a different dress code. We have to, dress, to what it's like to be in an office for whatever industry we're in. I chose business. We get the chance to actually work with real business people. They have a really good system of finding, people who are willing to work with kids and mentor us on what it really means to be in the business world.
We have over 300 260 mentors from the business community and 240 business partners, and that is the essence of why this thing is so unique.
There's a small business that needs a project done. Maybe they need a business plan, maybe they need a social media plan, maybe they need a website developed. We will do that for them, and we'll partner with them, and we'll do that at no charge, because it's a great experience, you know, for our students to be involved with that, and they're, again, very, very relevant. I mean, it's a real world experience. It's great for the business because they're receiving a quality product, you know, at a price, quite frankly, that's very attractive to them. The large businesses that have come alongside of us, this is a tremendous recruiting base for them. You know, I'm thinking of our engineering program.
Basically, the aerospace engineering program here at CAPS kind of introduces students just to the foundations of aerospace in general and lets them know, you know, all the different avenues that they have for going into aeronautics or aerospace. In class, we try to do some of the foundation things as far as building models or using simulations to look at the fundamentals of flight and, you know, how thrust and drag and those types of things work on aircraft. But then we try to take those to the next level in real-world projects where they're working with a mentor on something like building a flight simulator.
Garmin's involvement with CAPS program has included having people like me and some of our other engineers come to CAPS and mentor students. This includes one-on-one assistance with projects and giving new ideas and different perspectives on how students can do problem solving in engineering. Other things that we're involved with include providing actual physical resources to the projects. Most recently, we've provided a G1000 glass cockpit system for the new CAPS flight simulator.
We looked around the country, quite frankly, before we embarked on this journey to see if there was something we could model after, and we just couldn't find anything. So we feel like this is somewhat of a pioneering effort.
We are now in our 4th year of operation, and we have seen national interest in this program. So about 50 school districts nationally have come through the building, taken a look at what we're trying to do, because it's all about authentic learning, and schools and school districts are really engaged in trying to figure out what the model of the future of learning is going to look like.
By no means do we feel like it's going to replace the comprehensive high school. We think comprehensive high school has a place, and there are kids that benefit greatly from that. But we do know, and we're evidence that there is a segment of kids, in fact a substantial segment of kids, that can really benefit from this type of relevance.
Believe it or not, students in the CAPS program have also created dozens of businesses and products, everything from rechargeable cell phones to a prosthetic knee brace, Randy.
Wow, some of these teenagers even have patents on their products.
Well, next week on The Local Show, we meet some of those enterprising students.
Lead funding of KCPT's reporting of education issues is funded in part by a generous grant from the Kauffman Foundation and additional civic funders.
When he first got elected to office, President Obama set an ambitious goal of putting 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2015. Well, that's been a tough sell with many American consumers, and according to a recent Kansas City Star report, there are fewer than 100 plug-in electric cars and trucks in our area.
But that does not mean the Metro isn't preparing itself for an electric vehicle revolution.
We take a closer look as part of our joint reporting project on sustainability issues with broadcast students at Johnson County Community College.
I've had my Chevy Volt since the end of October. Well, not too long ago, I had written a book that looks at how we use energy, and I figured I need to put my money where my mouth is, and so deciding to purchase an electric vehicle was an obvious step for me.
We started LilyPad EV in 2009, and at that time, electric vehicles were just kind of a gleam in everybody's eye. But now that electric vehicles are real, and that the vehicles are available now or coming quickly from all the major manufacturers, this is actually a really big change in the transportation industry.
KCP&L continues to partner with Clean Cities and Mid-America Regional Council. There's a new initiative called Electrify the Heartland, which we are sitting on part of that group, and we're looking at the ways in which we can not only help with the deployment of electric vehicles, but really further push the deployment of infrastructure both publicly and privately.
What KCP&L and Department of Energy want to find out is, what does a skeletal electric vehicle infrastructure look like? How does it behave? How does it interface with the existing grid? How does it interface with consumer patterns, with the way people drive?
In comparison to other cities like St. Louis, where I'm from originally, there's a lot more public charging stations available.
And so we have more charging stations in Kansas City now in the Midwest than any other city in the Midwest outside of Chicago. So I'm very proud of that. So when you need to charge your car, you drive up to your parking place and you pull out your ChargePoint card. It's a ChargePass card, which will get you into the charging stations. You simply hold that card up here. Notice it's authorizing. It's dialing out to the internet to authorize you. It's now said authorized me. And you simply take the cord, grab it, and plug it into your vehicle. When one looks at the CO2 emissions between a gasoline vehicle and an electric vehicle, on average, it's about 1/2 the CO2 emissions for an electric vehicle than it is for a gasoline vehicle. A 20-mile-a-gallon gasoline vehicle does, I think, about 2 pounds of CO2 a mile. An average electric vehicle will do about 1 pound of CO2 a mile.
Okay, my energy level is dipping. I think I need to be plugged in and recharged. Randy, can you do the goodbyes for me?
Okay, then. I'm Randy Mason, and for a zapped Nick Haynes, we'll see you next time on The Local Show.
Principal funding for The Local Show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Johnson County Community College, John and Effie Spees Memorial Trust, Bank of America trustee, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Commerce Bank trustee, and KCPT members. Thank you.